Okay, apologies to those who came to this channel because of the music, but there is more music coming. It's just that this happens to be a bit of a variety channel. We do music and chess content here. Um, so at the moment, we're back to our regularly scheduled programming, which is this isn't supposed. This is supposed to be a quick guide series, but this time it's a little bit of a yeah. This one's going to be a bit of a long one. Okay, part five of the Portuguese Gambit series, and this is going to cover the Icelandic palm. Now, one of the the Icelandic palm is one of the other likely gambits that you're going to have to learn. It's part of the same family. It's very much like how the Geshev gambit is in the same family as well. The Lumberger counter gambit is also in the same family. You need to learn all four of these gambits just to have a complete repertoire. So yeah, so this is potentially the final part of the Portuguese gambit portion. Okay, e4, d5, e takes d5, knight to f6. Normally, white's best tries to play d4 and just give the pawn back, and this would have been the Portuguese gambit. But the more likely move that would happen at the lower levels of competitive chess is c4. Against this, you have e6, which is the Icelandic palm. And there's an awful lot of theory you need to learn just for this. Um, let's go over the moves when he doesn't take. So what happens if he plays d4? Well, you have e takes d5, which goes into the French defense exchange Monte Carlo variation. So that has its own line of theory. You definitely need to know this one. Against this, you have knight to f3, bishop b4 check, knight to c3, castles, kingside, bishop b2, knight c6, bishop e3, d takes c4, bishop takes c4, bishop g4, castles kingside, queen d6, bishop b2, rook a d8, h3, bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, queen takes d4, queen takes d4, rook takes d4, and we're only up by one pawn. What happens if he plays knight to c3? So it would have been this? No. So it would have been this, right? Against this, you have the exact same idea first. E takes d5, c takes d5, and then you have, this time around, you have knight takes d5. If he plays knight takes d5, you have the queen developed for free, so you have nothing to worry there. But against this, you have bishop c4 is the next most likely move, and then against that, you have knight b6. Yeah, bishop b3, knight c6, knight to f3. You need to make sure you remember this setup. Uh, Queen e7 check, queen e2, bishop g4. Against knight ge2, for example. Alright. Against knight ge2, for example, you have bishop d6. And you usually put the queen here, you usually put the bishop here, and then probably remember the knight being somewhere around here. That's the usual Icelandic palm setup. It plays out pretty much like a system in a lot of cases, but no, that's not it. Bishop d6. Sorry. Okay, that's a bit of a funny one. But usually you have bishop here, queen here, and then knight here, and then you have this Icelandic palm setup. Sometimes you would have the bishop go here. Against knight to f3, queen e7 check, queen e2, bishop g4, castles, kingside, castles, queenside, h3, queen takes e2, thank you for the queen, knight takes e2, bishop f3, bishop takes f3, sorry, g takes f3, rook e8, knight c3, rook e7, knight d5, knight takes d5, bishop takes d5, knight d4, bishop c4, b5, and he'll usually just take without seeing the knight there. That's probably the most likely scenario, and you just take, and we're up by 2 points. So we've basically covered the most of what happens if the gambit is declined. Now we're going to the accepted variation, which is this. And then you have bishop takes e6. This is the setup that we talked about earlier. d4. Bishop b4 check. Normally you put the bishop here or something, I'm pretty sure. Or sometimes you'll put the bishop here. But anyway, bishop b4 check, knight c3. But, well, what happens if he goes bishop d2? You have queen e7. The setup that we talked about earlier. And then you have bishop takes b4. He's going to think it's a free bishop. But you check again. And then you have queen d2, knight c6. And then he's going to think, oh, free queen. Nope. That's the knight there. Knight to a3 is the next likely move, because you have to stop the fork from happening. And then most likely you'll castle queenside, and then he'll castle queenside, and then you have knight to e4. Oh yeah, this knight. Knight to e4, bishop e2, knight takes f2 right here. Rook f1, that's the best you can do, because this rook is pretty much lost. d5, but you can just side step like this. So that's what happens if he goes bishop d2 against knight c3. That's a bit of a blunder. You have bishop d2. Where is it? Bishop d2. d2. Oh no, that's not that. Oh, that's the other line we looked at. Sorry. You have knight to e4. There are plenty of different routes that white can take. You will have an answer to all of them, but this just straight up loses. As this, you have queen takes d4, and you're all over white's base. His best try is knight to f3 to try to kick the queen. You have bishop c3 check. Bishop takes c3 check, sorry. B takes c3, queen takes c3 check. It looks like you've sacrificed your queen, but you have your knight there. Against this bishop d2, you have queen takes f4. Where was it? Knight takes e4, queen takes e4, check. Knight e2, bishop takes d2, check. Queen takes d2, knight c6, f3, queen e5, f4, queen e4, castles queenside. Queen takes c4, check. Knight c3, queen c5, rook e1, castles kingside. Queen e3, knight d4, queen e5, queen b6. g3, knight f3, queen e4, knight takes e1, bishop b2, rook e8, rook takes e1, bishop takes a2. You also have knight e2. Against that, You have this sneaky move. Sorry. You have this sneaky move, and then you have a3, queen h4, g3, bishop takes 3, c3 check. Knight takes c3, queen e7, bishop e3, knight takes c3, bishop takes c3, queen e4, rook g1, bishop takes f1, rook takes f1, castles kingside, queen e2, rook e8, castles queenside, knight d7, f3, queen takes e3, check, queen takes e3, rook takes e3, king c2, knight b6, rook fe1, knight d5, king d2, and you are pretty much winning here. And yeah, you may have to I'll post a PGN because you're going to have to remember an awful lot of theory in this one. This is why it's a little tougher to recommend the Icelandic-PALME, but the hope is that it goes into an exchange French and you can study the French defense theory instead. But I may have to just resort to teaching you guys French defense theory instead, but you never know. Okay, have fun.